This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
And then there were four. That's right, the Bills and the Chiefs, the Commanders and the Eagles proceed through to Championship Playoff Sunday. The Washington Commanders shocked the world as they knocked off the #1 seeds in the NFC, the Detroit Lions, and they did it in some style. And now their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, stands on the verge of making NFL postseason history. But the question is, which two teams from those four that remain will go on to New Orleans and compete in Super Bowl 59? Well, let's wait no longer. Let's turn that page and look ahead to Championship Playoff Weekend in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello and welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. As always, I am your host, Richard Graves. What a weekend of divisional playoff football we've just witnessed in the NFL. Certainly the best of this postseason. The best, as far as I'm concerned, for many years, certainly in my memory. But all the talk of the town is those Washington Commanders. Nobody gave them a chance to go up to Detroit. Certainly I didn't last week and get the win. Apart from maybe one man, who I'm delighted to say joins us on this week's NFL Championship Weekend preview. That man is NBC Sports insider with the Washington Commanders, JP Finlay. JP, how are you? It's great to hear from you.
Dude, I am great, and it's been a very, very fun run here in Washington. And we haven't had one of these. I mean, they haven't made it to an NFC title game since the 91 season. It's been a long time. And it's, you know, there's the fun of a deep playoff run. There's honestly just the fun and the newness of new ownership and a revitalized organization. And all of that would be enough. But then when you add Jaden Daniels and the level of play he's achieving and thinking that, wow, DC's finally got a quarterback, you add all that up and it's an incredible time to watch the Burgundy and Gold.
It's more than just getting a quarterback. Jaden Daniels stands on the threshold of making NFL postseason history this weekend. All time in the history of the NFL, only 3 times have we seen a rookie quarterback go on the road and win in the postseason. Jaden Daniels has done that twice this postseason alone. If you can somehow upset the odds again this weekend and go into Philly and book your place in Super Bowl 59, Jaden Daniels on his own will have equaled the all-time record. This guy just keeps turning heads, and the most impressive thing is, from the outside at least, he appears to be unflappable.
He is. I mean, he has been all year. I believe, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Richard, aren't the only 2 road playoff wins Washington so far this playoffs?
I think you're right, actually. I'm trying to quickly think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know this past
they're
weekend,
the only team outside the top 4 seeds, aren't they, that have gone through?
Right. And it's he is completely unflappable. What you see and kind of how the cameras show him just very nonchalantly reacting. Here's a cool kind of nugget about Jaden that tells you a lot about the human, like the dude, I think. Dallas, week 18, in a relatively meaningless game, right? Like they were already in the playoffs. It came down to seeding. And obviously the seeding has worked out for them. But when you take out Detroit in Detroit, it makes you wonder how important the seeding really was to begin with. But in that game, they pulled Jaden at halftime. They say it was leg soreness. I kind of think they were pulling him regardless. He got hit a couple times early in that game. I just don't think they wanted to risk it. And Mariota comes in. Marcus Mariota is the backup here. And Mariota and Jaden are tight, have a really good relationship, really good bond. And Mariota leads them on this crazy last second drive where he throws a touchdown to McLaurin in the end zone. And Jaden comes running off the bench to celebrate with Marcus and is really going nuts. And it was just this like highly visible emotional moment from Jaden where we haven't really seen any of those despite all of his heroics. And after the game, we got to ask him, and he was like, man, I was just so happy for Marcus. He worked so hard. And then it was like, well, you don't really do that when you achieve one of these last minute things. And he's like, I'd rather just cheer for my teammates than try to celebrate myself. And that is, to me, I think pretty telling of the type of person he is, the type of player he is, and why he's made such an impact so fast in DC.
Be honest with us. When the Commanders booked their place in the postseason, how far did you really think they could go? Was this ever really on the horizon for you?
So if you remember going into Week 18, there were 3 scenarios where they'd have to play LA, Tampa, or Philly. And all week I said on my radio show here, I was like, dude, Tampa's the matchup. They will beat Tampa. Because they played Tampa week 1, they lost. Jaden was kind of getting used to the speed of the NFL. I was very confident they would go down to Tampa and win that game. Then when they got Detroit, after seeing how they played in Tampa, I was like, they have a chance at this. I didn't feel as confident as I did going to Tampa, but I absolutely thought they had a shot at the win. And my thought was, you got to get Goff to turn it over. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Richard. I didn't have them winning the turnover battle. The way Jaden is playing, honestly, I think the same way going into Philly, where Philly's got the better roster. Philly's 1-53 might be the best in the NFL. They're just so big, strong, tough, and they're really good in the trenches. And that's going to be a significant advantage for them is their O-line and D-line. And I'm not looking past that, but I think Washington's got the best player on the field Sunday afternoon in Philadelphia. And when you've got the best player on the field, it gives you a different level of opportunity. And the way Jaden makes plays, dude, that throw he made to De'Ami Brown in Detroit, just unbelievable throws. Now, I don't know that I can I said that pretty confidently in Tampa. I said that pretty confidently in Detroit, and I think it's fair about Philly. Now, if they get to a Super Bowl and you're playing Mahomes or Josh Allen, I think you got to kind of choose your words a little more carefully. But, yeah, they've got a shot, dude. Only 2 teams playing. They got a shot.
They absolutely have. I did say last week, whilst I took Detroit ahead of the game, I said, look, it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, without really thinking it would happen. But given what we've seen so far from these Commanders and from DQ and Jaden Daniels, and people seem to, I've mentioned this earlier this season, Terry McLaurin, be it because he's on the Commanders team for his entire NFL career or whatever, for me, he's one of the most underrated receivers in the entire National Football League. And yet you ignore him at your peril because he's a game wrecker by himself.
Totally. I mean, the 60-yard tunnel screen in Detroit, it was just a fantastic play by a great player. And he, this year, broke the... Can I say Redskins on your podcast, Richard? I hope that's okay.
You can, yep, absolutely.
All right, cool. Like, he broke the organization's single-season receiving touchdown record that had stood for, I mean, you know, Ricky Sanders held the record from 1990 or something, you know, and think about how much more passing there is now than there was 35 years ago. I think this year has been a great kind of breakout opportunity. Not that Terry didn't have a high enough, he had a high profile. Just, you know, he had made a Pro Bowl, and I think people around the league were aware of him, and he was certainly like a fantasy player and stuff. But this year with beyond capable, with very good quarterback play, all of a sudden you see his numbers really pop. And I don't think that's an accident. And Terry and Jaden kind of started the season slow. It wasn't until week 3, the Monday nighter in Cincinnati, that those two kind of really connected. And I think, there's only more space for that duo to grow, but McLaurin is also just a tremendous guy in the locker room and has evolved into a leader for the organization. So it's been awesome to see him get to really enjoy himself. We haven't been going out to Commanders Park this time of year ever since I've been covering him. So it's been a long time coming.
Well, as you say, JP, 33 years since the Commanders were last in an NFC Championship game. It'll delight the fans, no doubt, that you can now say, look at those Dallas Cowboys, because it's been forever since they were last there, and it's not even close. But more important than that is the chance to go to the Super Bowl. So let's look at this matchup against the Eagles. You split the series one apiece this season. And yet, even in the game that the Commanders lost, Washington were leading that going into the fourth quarter, if memory serves me right. So you look at the odds makers, and they have the Eagles heavy favorites going into this, 6-point favorites. And yet, given current form, given what we saw out of Jalen Hurts and the Eagles last weekend, and given the way these two have played each other this season, I just have this feeling it's going to be a lot closer than that. What do the Commanders need to do, in your opinion, if they are going to pull off the upset this weekend?
Well, let me start making one thing perfectly clear. Give me the points all damn day. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me in the two games that have been tight, like you said. But, dude, I don't want to sound naive or like a homer. Philly has some distinct advantages. Saquon Barkley is the best non-quarterback offensive threat left in the playoffs. Saquon has killed Washington in the two games. Philly's O-line is the better of the two teams. Philly's D-line is the better of the two teams. Jalen Carter is playing at a level that is like, when he was dominant at UGA in college, you thought this was going to come, and then there was a lot of stuff in between, but he's now back to that level of dominance. Zach Bond's really good. It seems like Quinyon Mitchell avoided any major injury. It seems like Jalen Hurts is going to play. I'm not understating Philly. Like, that roster is really, really good. I do think, however, and one more thing that will help Philly, the Commanders lost their right guard, Sam Cosmi, who's been really good for them. He blew out his knee in the Detroit win and isn't going to play at least the rest of the playoffs. And I imagine that injury lingers into next year, but we'll wait and deal with next year. So that you're going to get a backup guard in Trent Scott on the field. So that's Philly has a better 1-53, and they're really good in the trenches, which oftentimes dictates playoff games. And going into this thing, one of the best things Washington has done is protect the football. They haven't turned the ball over. Philly's done the same thing. So a lot of these games have kind of hinged on turnovers. Philly's been smart with the ball too, so I don't know that that's like an inherent advantage for Washington. Where I think Washington can be better is Philly's passing attack sucks. Whether that's Hurts is hurt, Hurts is inaccurate, A.J. Brown's reading books, whatever's going on, they are just not an explosive group, even though they've got explosive talent. Like, the numbers are the numbers. I think what Hurts throw for, I think he's averaging like 140 in 2 playoff games.
In 2 playoff games, they've had fewer than 125 net passing yards. Which speaks for itself, if you can make them one-dimensional.
Totally. And I think if Washington sells out, and here's what's crazy. You got to like dig into the numbers a little bit more, because if you just look at the box scores for Saquon against Washington twice this year, the numbers are fantasy numbers galore, right? But in both games, they really bottled him up for 3 quarters of the games. And then in both games, he was able to hit 2 home runs. In the game in DC,
which is what we saw last week against the Rams as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's what he does. So to try to say if you can limit the explosives, you'll be able to control them. Sure, but like if you can make the sun not come up, then you might be able to control the world. Like, I don't know how you do it, but that's certainly got to be the goal, is to limit the explosives on Saquon. And Washington's defense has played much better over the last 6 weeks than they did over the totality of the year. And I don't know if it'll be enough. And Jalen Hurts can also hurt you with his legs. I don't know how healthy he is. I was going to say, I don't know. Given what we saw in the second half of that game on Sunday, I can't believe that unless it's late in the fourth quarter and the game's on the line, I don't think we're going to see Jalen Hurts running the ball and looking to initiate physical contacts with defensive players. I'm not sure he's that healthy. Yeah, and I don't think a week in late January is going to fix it, I'm sure he'll get treatment all week, and maybe, there's some meds he could take game day. I wouldn't be shocked by, but this is the type of game, though, where you leave everything out there. So if he's got to play through something, I'm sure he will. When they beat Philly in D.C., Hurts did suffer a concussion in that game, so it was Kenny Pickett playing. And, I can't imagine Eagles fans want Pickett playing. It's going to be a fascinating game. Playing in Philly's tough, but these guys have already done it. That's not – the weather, luckily, doesn't look to be too big of a factor. It looks like it's going to be about 40 degrees, no snow or anything. It'll be kind of cold, and that's where that stadium is, kind of right on this river, and they have this weird sort of wind tunnel between the end zones. So it won't be comfortable or balmy, but the other part –
could be worse.
I'm a firm believer, dude. When you see these snow games, the snow games give a real advantage to the offense. If you just watch, defenders just can't plant when, especially running backs, are able to cut, and defenders just can't plant to cut. And that's not specific to Philly. That's whenever you watch these snow games, people always want to play the under. I almost like the over because the defense is just at such a disadvantage.
Sure. So as we record this, JP, we're 5 days out from the NFC Championship game. Give us a gauge of the confidence levels in DC right now.
Fairly high, man. There's a lot of reason to believe in this team and what they're able to do, and a lot of it starts with the young quarterback in Jaden Daniels.
Absolutely. Well, look, we've both already said that Commanders are 6-point underdogs. We'll take the points on that. I can't let you go without asking you for your thoughts on the AFC Championship game, because after all, if the Commanders can do the business this Sunday, it'll be one of these two teams, the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, that await them in New Orleans. Look, it goes without saying, doesn't it? It's a titanic clash, two of the best teams in the AFC for the last 4 or 5 years. What are your thoughts looking on from afar?
Man, part of me feels like this is the Bills' year to finally break through. I thought they would beat the Ravens, and then obviously that came down to the wire. The Chiefs obviously have some kind of black magic or something, though, dude. They block kicks. A lot of the calls seem to go their way. I think we're going to – I don't know, dude. I fear for your audience. They're going to be like, gosh, this guy's such a homer. But it just feels like we'll get a rematch of the 91 Super Bowl when it was Bills-Redskins. And I know that might sound nuts, but to me, that's just kind of how this thing feels.
Well, here's the thing. Josh Allen seems like a man on a mission, certainly to me. The way he's put this team on his back in the playoffs to this point, he seems to have raised his game. Perfect record at home. He's got this great 4-1 record in the regular season playing against Patrick Mahomes. But you just referred to the Chiefs having some sort of black magic. How do you balance that up with the fact that somehow Mahomes is 3-0 when playing Josh Allen and the Bills in the postseason? And this is on a team that the last couple of years, at least, hasn't been as explosive offensively as we've become accustomed to.
Dude, think about now. No, because I guess KC went there to Buffalo and beat them in Buffalo last year, right?
They had to run the gauntlet. Everybody wrote them off, and yet somehow he takes on the Bills, he takes on the Ravens in their own turf, and then goes and beats the 49ers in Vegas as well. It is remarkable. Yeah, dude, I covered that Chiefs-Ravens AFC title game last year,
And Baltimore, that place was electric. And then Mahomes just sucked their soul out in that. They had those 2 really long drives in the first half. I think Kansas City has really evolved from like the high-flying, Tyreek Hill days to what they are now, which is a fairly boring ball control, play defense type team. And I think because of that, people want to write them off. But that style can win a ton of football games, and they're proving it. You've got on that Kansas City team, you got 4 legit Hall of Famers, right? Mahomes, and probably at least 2 like Mount Rushmore all-timers in Mahomes and Kelsey. I think Chris Jones is approaching that territory. He's definitely a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, for
sure. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. Like when you have that level of elite talent, and then you supplement it well around them, they've got that. There's a linebacker they got that I really like. Like they've got some players, man, and they're playing at home. I don't know, man. Part of me thinks this could be Buffalo's time, and Allen's able to take out Lamar. Allen's been protecting the football really, really well, which has been a knock on him previously. But it's pretty hard to pick against the Chiefs, dude.
Well, that's the quandary, isn't it? Because the Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites. I'm like you. I think there's something about Buffalo this year. The problem I've got is until somebody actually beats Mahomes and the Chiefs, I'm not willing to go against them. So I'll allow you to have the Bills and the points. I'll take the Chiefs and the points. And for those guys that are now keen avid Jaden Daniels and Commanders fans, where can they keep up to date? Because I know you're the man that's got everything around the team as it happens throughout the week leading up to the big NFC Championship game.
I appreciate it, bro. Just follow me on social at JP Finlay, NBCS, Finlay spelled with an A. That's probably the easiest.
Fantastic. Look, I know it's perishingly cold out in DC right now, so let's hope the week heats up, and I can only imagine the excitement will too for you and the fans around Washington. So enjoy it, JP, and hopefully we'll be catching up again with you looking ahead to a Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Thanks, dude. Dude, I started watching a British spy show that I like a lot. Have you watched Slow Horses?
I've heard all about it. It's on Apple TV, apparently. I haven't watched it yet. Do you recommend it?
It's good. I enjoy it, yeah. But I might feel different for you. But to me, over on this side, it's pretty good.
Hey, look, what more can you ask for? We have football previews and now drama previews and recommendations as well from stateside. JP, it's been a blast as always. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Talk later.
Graves on Gridiron.
Okay, let's give you a quick reminder of what we're looking at going into Championship Sunday in the NFL. It kicks off with the NFC title game. It's the Commanders, the upset kings of the postseason this time around, going into the city of brotherly love to take on a banged-up Philadelphia Eagles team. I'll be honest, before I press record on this week's preview, I was taking the Eagles to win this one outright. The more I think about it, the more I look at this matchup and what we've seen in the first 2 rounds of this year's playoffs, the more I become convinced by the Washington Commanders. So as 6-point underdogs, you bet I'm taking the Commanders to cover that spread. And I'm taking them to go on to Super Bowl 59. You heard me right. The Commanders to win outright in Philadelphia and become NFC champions for the first time in 33 years. Then it's on to the AFC title game in Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs and the Bills doing battle again. We've seen some classics in recent years in the playoff football between these two. I've got nothing that tells me this isn't going to be another classic on Sunday evening. But the Chiefs are chasing history. Mahomes believes he's chasing destiny. No team in the history of the NFL has won 3 Super Bowls back to back to back. This is where the Kansas City Chiefs stand right now. They're 2 wins away from making NFL history, and I think they take a giant stride towards doing that this Sunday night. They're 1.5-point favorites. They might not cover, but I'm taking them to cover. I'm taking them to win outright, and I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs to cover at -1.5 points as well. As always, if you want to read in a bit more depth about these 2 previews, go to my website, rdgmedia.uk. Click on the Talking Sport app, and there you'll see NFL Championship weekend, overcoming the odds. Click on that. You can read a detailed breakdown of both games. Equally, hit me up on social media. On X, it's at Richard Graves 1. RDG Media UK on Instagram. Equally, Richard Graves, RDG Media on Facebook as well. Always remember, it's about having fun. So, as what I did last weekend, enjoy the games first and foremost, folks. They are going to be two classics. And the question is, who will come out on top? By Sunday night, we'll know which two teams are going on to compete in New Orleans and place each other for Super Bowl 59. I, for one, can't wait. I hope you're looking forward to it as well. But for now, so long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts.
And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1.
That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad, which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.